All right, well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. All right, I appreciate it.
Is there such a thing as the Dalton Tea Party anymore?
All right, good morning, everybody.
No.
It is 12 o'clock,
No.
It is banded?
so let's go ahead and get started. I'm Tim Davis. I'm the mayor here
There
in
was a big
Temple.
ruckus.
Congressman Carter's office
yeah.
contacted me about a month or so ago about putting together this town hall. So here we are. Thank you all for attending. We're excited to have the congressman in town.
Thank you, Mayor.
Congressman Carter's been our representative since 2002. First elected in 2002, took office in 2003, and has faithfully served his constituents all along. So we only have about an hour. So with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, and we're gonna make this a conversation, we're not gonna make it a speech. And please let people keep coming in as we go. We don't want anybody to be excluded. Thank you for coming, and it's gonna be a conversation. So if you don't like to talk in public, you're in trouble, all right? Because you're gonna have to talk in public to get involved in this deal. And because the truth is, the reason, if there's any reason for having a town hall meeting, it's not to lecture people about Washington DC. It's to let you tell me how you're feeling about life, how you're feeling about the way the country's running, what you like and don't like, what you're interested in, not interested in, and what in the heck you think we ought to be doing differently. That's fine with me. Let me tell you something. I was a trial judge for almost 21 years. I have a pretty thick hide. And so, yeah, I know there's gonna be people who are gonna get salty, and that's fine. The only thing I'm gonna ask you to do is I'm not gonna let us dominate an argument, okay? We're gonna hit things and move on, and hit things and move on, that's fine. If we have a conflict, I don't have a problem with conflict. I just don't want it to dominate the whole hour, because we only got an hour. I'm gonna tell you real quickly some things I'm working on right now to give you an idea of what I'm of interest in. Now, let me just explain something to you real quickly. As I tell you this, you're gonna hear a lot of Democrats' names around here. Well, the Democrats are now in charge, folks. In case you don't know, they drive the trains. So if you wanna get on the train, you gotta get a Democrat to help you get on the train. And I have some legislation that I think that is important, that I wanna get done. And I have Democrats that I have chosen that I feel like I can trust that they have the same will on the legislation I want to do that I have. And they will be the lead. Because if they are the lead, then we get heard by Nancy Pelosi. If I'm the lead, I go in the trash can. And so I'd rather have, these things are issues that are important to me. Therefore, I have Democrat co-sponsors in almost every one of these bills. One that, wow, we just did last week, okay? And this is a good bill. It's the Children of Fallen Servicemen ATM Relief Act. Believe it or not, our IRS thought that the benefits that Gold Star families get, when they get paid their benefits for their dead soldier, should be taxed twice under the alternative minimum tax as unearned income. And my friend Rick Larson is right across the hall from me. We don't see eye to eye on almost anything, but we see eye to eye on this. And so I got Rick to join me, and we introduced this, and we got it passed the House last week, okay? And to me, it's a no-brainer. Why in the world would you give a lump sum to a wife or parents of a soldier killed in action, or a service person killed in action, and then double tax that benefit? Ridiculous. Legislation that we've done and got signed into law, Justice Served Act, October 9, 2018, brings justice to the victims of crime and their families for giving prosecutors additional funds to prosecute these things. You know, everybody started watching TV and they saw this stuff about cold case files. Somebody got excited and we created a cold case file bill, and we gave all our jurisdictions money to go out and get those old files and reprocess them, and use the DNA and all the new stuff we've got. And all of a sudden, everybody woke up, and every DA office in the country just about, and all of a sudden doubled their docket. They had all the current cases they had to deal with, and then they had an equal number of 10-year-old cases they got to deal with, and they didn't have the funds to hire out people to do the work to get the things to court. And so this is giving them the ability to go seek grants to fully fund the operation, so they can not only indict those cases that they found that they had in the old cases, but they can actually try them and take them to trial. It's just a matter of keeping justice working. That's what that bill is for. And I think it's one to be proud of. Then one that was really crazy is we had a rule in the VA that if you needed a live organ transplant, you had to have a donor that was a veteran, or they wouldn't cover it.
That's all right.
And I said, that is the dumbest thing I have ever heard in my life. Only 1% of the people in the world, in the country, fight in our military. That limits your market to 1%. Crazy. Now you can have a donor from anywhere, and the VA will pay for it. As usual, I woke up with my allergies this morning. Joy, forgive them. But we've got a bill that we have introduced. Better Military Housing Act, I introduced it with Jimmy Panetta, a Democrat from California. Requires the Department of Defense to develop a plan to address safety and quality issues in private military housing. We have the very issues on Fort Hood, some of our older stuff, and we're trying to get attention and a spotlight on that issue. Then another bill, securing America's energy infrastructure with Dutch Ruppersberger, protects energy grids from cyber attacks by creating a backup analog switch. Everything is digital these days, and unfortunately it's subject to cyber attacks, and a cyber attack can bring down the grid. Now, the good news is that 3 grids, 2 of them are unsafe and one of them is relatively safe. Texas is the other grid. We're relatively safe. But still, they can attack our grid too. There's an eastern grid, a western grid, and a Texas grid. We're special, folks. What can I say? This is a good bill. Dutch Ruppersberger is my co-chair on the Army Caucus, and he's a good, solid guy. And then Military Spouses Employment Act. I've tried this once before. This time I think we'll have success. The issues our military families have is they are a very mobile population. And someone wanting to hire a military spouse is always worried about the soldier getting transferred and losing their employee. And so they kind of, I'm sure unintentionally discriminate against them. To calm that down, we're gonna give them a tax benefit for hiring military spouses, which should level the playing field as they look at the hiring of military spouses. So why is this all kind of related to military in a lot of ways? Folks, I serve on 2 subcommittees. I'm the ranking member, which means if we were in the majority, I would be the chairman of Military Construction and Veterans Affairs. And I serve on the Defense Appropriations Committee. So my whole world that I work in now is the military. But I do work in other areas, as you can tell, justice and other things. Now, your turn. Who wants to talk?
Thank you, Congressman, for your reference.
We're gonna do it in order now, okay? Do it in order. But we're gonna raise our hand. You spoke first, so go ahead.
Okay.
This guy's gonna
That's
help.
all I wanted to say is thank you for your efforts in support of the military.
Oh, God bless you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the thank you. Back in the back with the red hair.
again.
Yeah.
Thank you for supporting the military.
Lady in the back with the red hair.
I'll move to you and I'll bring the mic to you, okay?
Hi, Congressman. I'm Diane Slake, widow to Frederick T. Slake, Sergeant First Class, retired Army. I know you had co-sponsored some of the ending the widow's tax bill. And there are some burn pit bills out there, which is how my husband passed away.
I'm aware of that.
And I've got a legislative packet for you here. I'm the director of Golden Star Family Services for our organization. And we'd really appreciate it if you would take a look at those and consider, because we have soldiers dying at 20, 30, and 40 years old from this new Agent Orange. And, you know, they have no help out there because the VA is going to start over again on research. And there's valuable research out there. Vanderbilt University has a great lung center that has tons of research that they've been doing for the last 10 years. And, you know, it's,
And I think you, and
we don't want
I'm,
to start all over again when this been.
I agree with you.
Research is out there.
I agree with you. I'm very on top of this issue. I've had several of my Marine buddies tell you the biggest punishment you got was go burn the you know what.
Sure.
And so they and they're getting illnesses from this now.
Well, my husband, he was in there in 2009 and 2010. 25 feet from the burn pits was his office and working quarters,
Oh,
living
man.
quarters. And he died literally 3 years after his retirement. He'd gotten diagnosed with stage 4 lung and brain cancer with no symptoms. And he died 9 weeks after diagnosis here at Scott and White.
And I lost a brother-in-law with Agent Orange brain cancer.
So,
So I know I'm all over this.
great.
Get your packet and we'll work on it.
Appreciate it, sir.
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.
Against the wall back over there, Joe's behind you.
Congressman Carter, good afternoon. My name is Akshay. I live and work in your district. I work at Scott and White Medical Center. So my question for you is about the bill HR 1044. It was called HR 392 in the last version of the Congress. This is the Fairness for High-Skilled Immigrants bill. Your office and you have been extremely supportive towards this bill ever since its inception in 2008. There is nothing that has changed on this bill, and we know that you really stand up for fairness in legal immigration. This bill exactly addresses that. It takes off the per country caps on green cards and it's just fair for people who have been here for 10, 15 years legally. So my question to you is, will you please co-sponsor HR 1044?
I'll look at HR 1044 if it is, as you say, exactly similar to the ones we supported in the past. We will be supportive of that. I will tell you that right now, Nancy Pelosi is not gonna bring any immigration issues to the floor at all until after the presidential election.
Just to add to that, this bill now has 294 co-sponsors in the House. It has 24 co-sponsors in the Senate
And
version.
you're saying we're not on it?
No, but you have extensively supported.
I've supported this for at least 10 years.
Yes, but we really need your official co-sponsor.
Well, we'll get on it. We'll get on
We
it. We'll
have
take a look at
16
it.
co-sponsors in Texas. 8 of them are Republican congressmen in Texas.
We will take a hard look at it. We'll get on it.
Thank you, sir.
This is what you say. Judge, over here.
Sorry. Thank you, Judge. Just a quick question for you. There's been a lot of discussion in newspapers anyway about transportation infrastructure bill and discussions between administration and some members of Congress associated with that. Can you shed any light on?
There are people meeting, working on transportation and infrastructure bill, and looking at it. The bottom line is, we don't know where we're gonna get the money. I know you know this challenge, Judge, because I've talked to it a million times about it, and most of you do. The more fuel efficient our cars get, the less tax money we get for infrastructure and for highways and for transportation. And so when electric cars don't pay anything on the way of it. If we don't tax electricity, we tax motor fuel. And that, the motor fuel tax, both at the state level and at the national level, is the tax that provides to fix our highways. That's the problem. We don't know where the money is, and it's gonna take a couple of $1 trillion ultimately. I don't think we can get to a couple of $1 trillion on honest assessment. I think it'll be like, we might get to $1 trillion, but it'll be a combination of things. And some of it's gonna have to be private money somewhere. I don't know. They are working on it. And if Trump wants it, Nancy's not gonna let it come to the floor. Yes.
Yes, sir. Hi, my name's Dave Tomorrow. I've flown up there about 4 times to see it. I'm working with Carl York right now
Good.
about the,
So that other folks can hear you.
oh, sorry.
No, so that.
Name's Dave Tomorrow. I run the museum down the road here. You're welcome to come here.
I've been there.
Not yet. No, you haven't yet.
Which museum is that?
August has been to the museum. It's a military museum.
Oh,
about
no,
four-
I haven't been to that.
4 miles from here. But he's been out there and checked it out. Anyway, I've been working for 4 years with the state of Texas, and what's happened is the DOD is slowly upping DML codes, not following their own rules and regulations, which means there's less and less stuff to be donated to fire departments in the state and everything for rescues and everything like that. They're refusing to follow their own rules and regulations. I've got a letter here from the OSD to you where they intentionally misrepresent themselves. Carl York's got a copy of this, and it's addressed to you. And there's an outside POGO. Are you familiar with POGO?
Yeah.
They did a report that the DOD admitted that they threw away $1.5 billion worth of stuff last year that should have been recycled to the states and local governments, and they don't want to do it because they started doing it under the last administration, and they're scared to reverse policy, to reverse back to the way it was supposed to be, according to DOD regulations, because they're afraid people are going to lose their jobs at our OSD. And this is validated with the outside.
Well, I mean, Carl, if Carl's on top of that, Carl's working on that.
Yes, sir. But-
And we're gonna continue to work on that and try to get an answer from him,
Yes, sir.
and the kind of answer you're looking for.
Just, there's that letter that states in there that the vehicles in question, over $100 million, or $1.1 billion of them, have no commercial value. And the state of Texas got 490 vehicles in the last every year for the last few years. They requested 700 vehicles, they've been cut down. And this year, they're looking at just a couple hundred vehicles, and next year possibly no vehicles. And those are used for fire, like Troy got 3 or 4 vehicles. They won't be able to get any more vehicles, and that's going across the country. That includes spare parts for those vehicles too. So if they've got an M35 brush truck out there, they're not going to be able to get any more parts because the DOD doesn't want them out there because they've administratively said that they're not going to support the program anymore.
We'll look into it and see what we can find out. It looks like we already are.
Well, I'm just.
Yeah, but thanks for bringing it up to me. And I was aware of that, the DOD changed the policy.
They hadn't legally changed policy. There's nothing in writing or anything. They just said, we're not gonna do it, and we're gonna represent or lie about it. And that's what they're lying to you about it personally in this letter from OSD. And I would like to extend an invitation to come out to the museum anytime you want. August knows where it is, and it's a lot bigger now. We've got a lot more stuff. And that goes to city councilman or anybody here, you can come out, drive a Humvee or 5 tons, if it's up. And it's great to actually touch the stuff and drive the stuff than sitting and looking at it on a cement pad.
Thank you. Well, I'll try.
All right.
And we're here, Joe. Well, you got one over there?
Hi, Judge, CJ Grisham. My question is, thanks for all your work that you do for veterans. You do a lot of work out there, and so my question is veterans related. As you know, we had the worst mass shooting on a military installation in 2009. 5 years later, we were talking about what we can do about this, and you had made a statement at the time that you believe in the right to keep and bear arms. However, you also believe that if you want to exclude them from your home and tell them that you can leave their pistol at home, you can do that. And quite honestly, Fort Hood is the Army's home, so I defer to the Army. I'm a retired Army, and Mark Milley, who was the chief of staff at the time, was the only service chief that disagreed with the 2016 policy that allowed military commanders and bases to decide the policy. Well, what the Army is doing is they're saying no guns. So if I have to drive from here to Fort Hood to go get my identification card, I have to disarm myself from here all the way to Fort Hood. And I've only got to go 25 miles, but some soldiers have to go even further, or veterans. And the same goes with the VA. When we veterans go to the VA, technically, we're not even supposed to have a gun in our car, much less on us. So we've got the worst mass shooting on a military base in 2009. Nothing has changed. The Army has decided that it's going to buck the DOD policy, which does allow licensed individuals who are 21 years of age to carry if the commanders say so. But now we've got these anti-gun commanders who don't care that my life is in jeopardy not only on post, but going to a military installation. So if I live in Dallas and I've got to come all the way to Fort Hood, I can't have a gun all the way because the moment I hit that checkpoint, I'm supposed to be unarmed, whether it's in my vehicle, unloaded, all that. And the same thing goes with the VA. We've got veterans that are driving hours to get to this great VA that we have here. But a lot of them, I'll tell you for sure, are sort of hoping they don't get caught by just keeping their gun in their vehicle. What's being done to change that? I know it's going to be hard under Nancy Pelosi.
Well, let me just start off by saying that the original policy was that they were gonna be able to keep, the DOD policy right after a shooting was they weren't gonna let personal guns on post at all.
Right.
I changed that policy. I went to the DOD and in the compromise, and I'll admit it's a compromise, but it's a compromise I could accept, that the DOD policy would be a licensed to carry person could carry on the post with the permission of the commanding officer. Now, your complaint actually is the chain of command is basically put pressure on the commanding officers to where they're not letting people carry. Look, I will tell you, I made that deal. That's the deal I made with the DOD, or we would have gotten nothing. And we got something, and there's still some, I'm sure, somewhere, but maybe not. I don't know the chain of command policy that forced the change. I'm not surprised they did, okay? But I thought it was a good idea, and I was at least got the DOD policy changed where they could. I don't think you're gonna have any success trying to buck the chain of command. And I really don't have the authority to buck the chain of command. I regularly talk to Mark Milley, and I will have a conversation with General Milley about that. In fact, I probably will talk to him next time I'm in Washington, because he's coming up for chairman of the Joint Chiefs. And then the policy may be countrywide. I don't know. I don't know if it's Milley's policy or somebody else's, but I do know that I got the original change made, and I still think it's a good idea for well-trained, licensed soldiers to have their own personal weapons. But that's up to you gotta put it up in charge, the man in charge. It's his post, he's the guy that's gotta make that decision. I still believe that's right. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, let's see if there's a-
Start.
I'd like to do it, but I still think I can.
Hello there, Congressman. My name is Moisha. I'm a veteran, live in Killeen. The digital media space is increasing in importance as this goes on. The Trump's campaign during 2016 had a lot to do with grassroots movements online. And so far already this early into the election cycle, 6 presidential candidates have spent a combined total of $10 million on online advertisements. However, we have social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, who are banning people because of a political ideology of the places where they are located on the West Coast and Silicon Valley. My question to you is, where these platforms are editorializing and banning people because they disagree with what they have to say, would you support a digital bill of rights to protect the right of people to speak freely online?
I think I would. Okay, I don't know, quite honestly, whether I do not like, if they're gonna be in the public marketplace, they ought to be subject to the same rules and regulations about discrimination that we have in the marketplace. And they're playing their political agenda, yet they have the basically monopoly on the space that they're doing. I have issues with that. I also have a lot of issues with, I don't want the government getting in the middle of the internet. Because then you're just asking for trouble. And that's why,
Well,
it
unfortunately,
steps on both toes.
a lot of these companies, for example, Facebook, PayPal, Amazon, Twitter, all of their headquarters are within 18 miles of each other in Silicon Valley. These are all people who they go to the same lunches, they share the same political beliefs and everything. And while I do believe that government intervention should be minimalized in these sorts of things, they are effectively teaming up to deplatform people who have political positions they don't agree with.
And I disagree with that. I agree with you. And if that's what that Bill of Rights would do, I will take a look at it and read the language, and I would be inclined to support it.
Thank you very much.
I just got out of Twitter jail.
Anybody else? Come on. No shy people back there.
Hello, Congressman. My name is Michael. I've lived in Killeen, Municipal area my whole life. My question is, in the 115th session of Congress, you voted no on House Bill 5682, the First Step Act, which would have expanded courses in rehabilitation services and improved our criminal justice system to help people transition back into private life instead of falling into back into a life of crime. And I'm wondering why you voted no on that bill.
And I don't have any idea. That was when?
The 115th session.
115th Congress, that would
Last
be
year. Was that?
14,
You were,
2014,
no, last year, in 2018.
2018. And what did it do? It transitioned,
It kind of reforms our prison criminal justice system, improving like good time credits for prisoners, encouraging them with good behavior rehabilitation services, and a lot of other things that I can't remember off the top of my head, but you were one of the 30-something Republicans who voted no, and I was wondering why.
the Prison Reform Act, if that's the Prison Reform Act that you're talking about, having been a Texas judge, I disagree with a lot of things in the Prison Reform Act. That rehabilitating happened, doesn't happen to be one of them that I disagreed with. Early release for certain categories of people, I had some disagreement with. That's why I voted against it.
Michael, if you have more information, if you get it to Emily, and we can get you a better background on that bill. Okay. Okay, I'll get over to you.
Oh, okay, thank you. Congressman, first of all, thank you for taking up for the Gold Star families on that tax issue. That was something very dear to me on the heart.
Good.
Also, another issue that Tucker Carlson brought up a few days ago was the credit card companies and their scheme to charge tremendous amounts of interest rates once people get behind. I would like to see Republican support, because that's something that affects a lot of people, that we limit the amount of interest that can be charged, where it doesn't just get exorbitant and becomes a big ripoff. I believe that everybody should have the opportunity to make a decent living, earn a decent living, but I don't think anybody should be subject to exploitation.
Well, that's a good question, and to be honest with you, I didn't hear Tucker Carlson's thing. I do watch him, and exorbitant interest rates. We have both federal laws and state laws on usury. Now, I realize there are a bunch of exceptions in those laws to certain categories of lending. I don't know enough about that to talk about it, to be honest with you. But if anybody's gonna be jacking up interest rates to where they're exorbitant and usurious, I think there'll be a lot of opposition. I'll get my office to look into that. Before you leave, give one of my staff your name and we'll get back with you. And I'll be a little bit smarter next time when you ask that question.
Thank you, Congressman.
In the corner.
Hey Congressman, I just wanted to thank you for your continued support on career and technical education in public schools. You probably remember touring Temple ISD's facility and talking to our students. And as soon as you sent that letter to state leadership, things changed in terms of them removing programs, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. And let me tell you, we've got to give every opportunity to every kid that we can in this country. We've got to change this attitude that the kid that goes into trades and doesn't go off to college is some kind of second-class citizen. Because that second-class citizen may be knocking down $100,000 a year, while you're sitting there with your sociology degree, you know, making 40,000. So don't feel like, that I'm not on the team of those guys that are going to the trades, because I'm 100% behind them.
And you are welcome back anytime. Our students really enjoy you.
Thank you. Who else? Yes, sir. Then the lady behind you.
Bill Roughton, from Temple here. I guess I'm gonna address the elephant in the room. 2 years, $33 million spent on an investigation of Trump, the Trump administration, Trump election. Now they're calling for another congressional investigation. When and how is it gonna end?
When the Democrats
I
are
wish
going.
if I had a crystal ball, I'd let you know, but I don't have one. There is a saying in the law, probably a few lawyers around here, that any idiot with the price of a filing fee and directions to the courthouse can file a lawsuit. Well, that's kind of the way it is in Congress. Anybody idiot that can get their hands on a microphone can start an investigation in the United States Congress. And that's what this thing is like a never-ending thing that doesn't seem to want to stop. What you should be concerned about as American citizens, we've gotten that done. It's gonna keep going until he's reelected. But the bottom line is, we should be concerned about the fact we're not doing the things we need to do because we're spending too dang much time trying over and over and over the Democrats to get a shot at the president. If they would leave it alone and go back to work, we have a lot of issues, especially in the area of our southern border, that are crisis issues that they're not even recognizing. They're so busy going after the elected president of the United States. That's what we ought to be worried about.
That's right.
We can't fix the crazy people.
Okay. I'm Carolyn Motal from Holland, Texas. Yes, and I live in the country. And there's a lot of people that live in the country in Texas, as you well know.
Yes, ma'am.
And we are afraid of the people coming over here from the border. Now, I have a property that's right next door to ours, and it's been vacant for 15 to 20 years. And I'm afraid that some migrant is gonna come in there and squat, and you can't get squatters out, and cause all kind of ruckus in our little part of the world. And I wanna know, you said at the beginning that you would not try to do anything on immigration because of Pelosi was in all.
No, ma'am, I said Nancy Pelosi won't take anything on immigration on the floor of the House because she wants it to be a political issue in the presidential race. I won't. I work on immigration every day.
Okay, my question is, that was what I was questioning, because I felt like, is this thing working?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, my question is, I thought that you should be be working on immigration so the voters will know that you are really doing something and you're blocked every which way.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
the voters will reelect you. I'm afraid you're not gonna get reelected because of not doing anything except for Fort Hood.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for that advice. Thank you very much.
That's my.
And let me just talk about that for a minute. Okay, in 2014, Sam Johnson was the congressman from Plano, an American war hero. We one day decided that this immigration thing had to be fixed. And we got 10 conservative Republicans and 10 liberal Democrats. Some of those liberal Democrats are still around, and you'd know them if you saw them. And we made a deal to go in a room and try to rewrite our immigration law and keep it a secret. And the miracle, and this is why I told everybody in the room, they did not all liked it, that God was on our side because it stayed a secret in Washington, and anything that you do more than 2 times that remains a secret is a real miracle in Washington. We did it for 2 years. We wrote a bill, and it was a good bill, and it would have fixed these things that we're talking about, including the issues that we're fighting with right now. But both leaderships rejected it and would not bring it to the floor, both Republican and Democrat, because of the political ramifications. Now let me finish that story. I was invited, this was back in the heyday of the Tea Party. I was invited to Salado, Texas, to speak to 40 people about that bill. Was anybody there? Maybe not. It was gonna sit down and visit, just like we're doing here. When I arrived, there was 1,000 people there. They were having a fundraiser,
We were there.
and they screamed at me for 4 hours.
We were there.
I had a bill that would have fixed everything that we needed to do, that had been worked on very diligently every week for the entire 2 years we met at night, worked on that bill. And I said, at some point, you gotta say, I've got it, I've done it, and nobody wants it. And I got so mad at John Boehner, I said, Boehner, it'll be in my right-hand drawer, and if you want it, you're gonna have to beg for it.
What happened when Trump come in?
Trump doesn't run the House of Representatives, the Speaker runs the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
And by the way, I have notified the White House, I have a bill, and so far they haven't responded. I have notified the White House I have a bill, and they haven't
I
responded.
do it every week. Just keep telling.
I will, ma'am, if I could fix the southern border and immigration, I would feel like I had met my obligation to the state of Texas to be in Congress. It's the biggest crisis for Texas we've got. Absolutely. I think about it every day, and when I funded that agency, I funded it with the intention of stopping the flow and keeping those people, make them come in here legally, not illegally. And we should do that.
I think we should point it to them every week. Get them so they can't stand your name.
Ma'am, I hear you. I hear you.
Ma'am, if I can say too in the Congressman's defense, I've been following what's going on in the state legislature in Austin, where the House Speaker has blocked the entire conservative
That
platform.
guy should have been out of there years ago.
Bingo. And right now, he's in even worse shape. He's got to put up with Nancy Pelosi.
That's right.
And that other crazy woman.
Oh, yeah. Maxine Waters, what's her name from New York?
Which one? There's a choice.
The one with the initials, what?
AOC.
AOC.
But anyway, that's just my comment. I can understand what he's going through, because I've been watching Dennis Bonnen in Austin. He makes Nancy Pelosi look good in some ways.
Thank you, ma'am,
That's gonna be the ruination of our country.
it is a bad thing, very, very, very bad.
My name is Karen Hudnall, and I want to know if, since we can't do anything with immigration with Pelosi, is there something we citizens can do to address this immigration problem?
No, ma'am. There's really not. It's a governmental problem. It has to do with laws that are absolute antiques. And right now, it's all about an asylum law that was written in a fit of passion for a bunch of kids back in 1996. And now is letting 100 to 110,000 people a month into our country because it's not fixed. If there's anything that needs to be done in this session of Congress, that law has to be fixed. I'll be glad to drop tomorrow. In fact, I wrote a bill that fixed it, 18 months ago. And I dropped it too. It didn't go anywhere. But it should. It has to be fixed. It is a mistake that the simplest word we can say. Somebody made a mistake and left a giant loophole in our law. Right now, we don't chase people on the border anymore. They turn themselves in. 98%. The only people we're chasing are the drug dealers. Because they got drugs and they know they can't claim asylum. Asylum.
Yeah, I thought there's no one else. I'd like to respectfully disagree with you on what you had just said about immigration. I think there's something that citizens can do, and I truly think the federal government needs to embrace it. I went down to the border about 3 weeks ago and went down to New Mexico and El Paso, did a tour of different areas. And during part of our walks, one of the things that I saw along the trails, I'm seeing women's clothing. I'm talking intimate clothing, not just clothing. It's amazing how much women's underwear I can find on these trails, but no men's underwear. And that leads me to think some very nefarious things.
Oh, it's happening, yeah.
On the way back from one of these trips, we were where the wall ends. This is in Sunland Park, New Mexico, where the wall just ends. And this was at the end of the evening. We're finally coming back after walking around, and I'm kitted up. I've got my AR-15. I'm ready to defend myself. As we come around the hill, there are 6 gentlemen in their either late teens or early 20s, all dressed in black, wearing black gloves, holding their water containers with them. And as soon as they saw a citizen, well, a few citizens, armed, they ran back into Mexico. But they were waiting for that sun to come down. I think what the federal government needs to do is embrace law-abiding citizens who care about this country, who are willing to go out there and stand point, not be violent, but just our presence there caused at least 6 of these guys to run back to their country, wherever they came from. I'm sure they came back later. But I really think the federal government needs to embrace militias because they don't cost a dime, and embrace citizens that are trying to help, even if it's just being point guards, making phone calls. We called Border Patrol, and in the 2 hours that we were there since making that phone call, no one showed up. And I think that's a big problem.
We've had militias on the border in Arizona and New Mexico. They have a very, very different border than Texas does. We have a river, which makes a completely different set of circumstances. As long as people want to spend their time down there and they don't kill anybody or injure anybody or hurt anybody, I don't think anybody's running anybody off down there.
No, the governor of New Mexico is.
Well, the governor of New Mexico has a right. The governor's the governor. But, I can't, the federal government can't impose their will upon the governor of New Mexico either. And they better not impose their will on the governor of Texas. So it's a sticky issue. People are worried about somebody start shooting. And quite honestly, it could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because you saw 4 or 5, 6 guys in black.
6 guys.
With backpacks, water jugs. A lot of times there's 2 or 3 ARs in a group like that. And then you could really have a gunfight right there. And that would be, I wouldn't have a problem with it, as long as we won.
Well, we were a bunch of Texans. We would have won.
But the truth, it's not the kind of policy the government's gonna endorse.
Yeah.
And shouldn't endorse. Okay. Wait a minute, let's see. Anybody else before we go to a second round? Okay, go ahead.
Building on what the previous speaker said, recently Steve Bannon's company, Build the Wall, announced that they have constructed a privately funded half-mile stretch of border fencing with the same standard as Trump's wall was planning to be. Would you support more citizen-funded initiatives to get the wall constructed?
Where did Bannon build that wall?
In Sunland Park, actually.
Yeah, there you
In Sunland Park?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right there in
He
the.
bought the land or somebody gave it to him?
No, it was his land.
Private land.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess you can build all the walls you want to on your own private land. Certainly, that is a walled city. So everybody's got walls in El Paso. Because fences cost too much money, rocks are cheaper than wood. So everybody's got a stone wall around their yard.
It's when the Army Corps of Engineers said they couldn't build it. They went down there and they built it.
Good for them.
Cheaper.
And I'm sure you can do it cheaper than, you can do anything cheaper than government, except maybe fight wars. It's a little harder. But there's nobody telling people they can't build a private wall for their own property.
I will say too, as far as what we can do as citizens to help support, getting the immigration problem under control. If you know of a business where they've got illegals working, report them and don't do business with them. Hit them in the wallet.
And let me just say something about the wall, okay? We don't need a wall from Brownsville to San Diego, okay? We just don't need it.
Yeah.
That would be the biggest waste of money you can imagine. Once you get north of Del Rio, you're in what anybody would describe as Badlands. And nobody's going out there, nobody's crossing out there. They die out there, and they know they die out there. And they don't cross out there. The river's bad out there too. And then you get up to Big Bend, you got 2,000-foot canyons that you're gonna have to traverse. I've made a joke one time and said, the guy that climbs Boquillas Canyon and then gets over the wall, we ought to hand him citizenship papers and a job. That's the guy that we want in this country, if he's got that guy. It would be ridiculous to waste the money out there. And right now, an honest assessment, and this is me talking, but it's the truth. We're not chasing anybody now. 98% of the people coming across the border are claiming asylum. And they've got a loophole, and they're being spread all over this nation. Right now, as we speak, this last month, 10,000. Last month came in. Previous month, 90. We'll be at 1.2 million or 1.1 million by December at the rate we're going right now, because the big months for travel are still coming. So, I mean, it is ridiculous. The only people we're chasing are people that are bringing criminal contraband into the country. They have to sneak across the border. Nobody has to sneak across the border. They can walk across the bridge, swim the river, and walk up to the first green suit and say the magic words. I have a credible fear that if I return to my country, I will be killed or harmed. And they're in. That's got to be fixed. That's why this lady is worried out there in the country. And I understand why you're worried, ma'am. I truly do. I used to live in the country. I'm now surrounded by subdivisions. But when you've got your loved ones out away from help that might be available, and you see this kind of influx of people we don't know anything about, it's got to be frightening. And that's one of the things we got to fix. But the wall is not the whole solution. The wall, if you ask the Border Patrol, the places they cross right now are canyons, draws and things like that. You gotta wall those off. Because the response time is average 8 minutes by the Border Patrol if you got a road. Roads are as important as walls. In fact, more important. And we don't have very many roads. When we build a wall, we build a road. We've got a wall right now running from Brownsville almost to McAllen. It's called levee walls. And they've got Ballard fencing on top of them, and they're a 20-foot levee. And they got concrete on that side. It'd be a real trip to cross. But you could sneak around it. You sure could sneak around it. But where they're sneaking around it, the people looking for you. But the real world is nobody has to do that anymore, not yet. Because we got until we fix that asylum law. Why should they? Just walk up to a border patrolman and say those magic words, and you're on your way. And now you'll have a report to court, but notice, but you're not required to be there for 5 years. That's the backlog. So you can go to Bangor, Maine, or you can go to Miami, Florida, or you can go to Key West, or wherever you want to go. And as long as you're in the United States and you've got that pass until you get to court, you're going to be here. If you get married and have kids, it'll be hard to deport you. This is a bad situation, a real bad situation. I've got a bill that'll fix it. I'll be glad. In fact, we may have already dropped it. I told them to drop it. I don't know if they did it or not. Says not gonna go anywhere, but we'll drop it anyway. But that's gotta happen, folks. That's the depressing thing about this problem on the border. It's not chasing people down and blocking them with walls. The walls will block the criminal element that's bringing drugs and other contraband into the United States, and we need them. But we need everything else too.
We need help from Mexico too.
And they're helping a little bit. We do need help from Mexico. Who else has a question?
Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am. This lady right here.
I'm not gonna stand, I'm Linda Shumway from Belgium. One of the problems is, there's a lot of people want one world order. And Trump upset that. And that's why Pelosi ain't gonna do anything and all other cronies up there. They want one world order, they wanna get at least 1/3 of the population of the world gone, if not half. They don't want no borders. If Clinton had gotten in, we would not have a border this day. We would not recognize our nation. And it's
And
not.
I'm against the one world order, I
That's
promise
right.
you.
You better believe it. But I mean, that's what it's all boils down to be. They want one world order, 2030, look it up. They'll tell you that's their target date there. It was 2021. That's why they are mad at Trump and everybody else, because they upset the apple cart because they were hoping to have it all done.
Well, they won't get it done. Thank you, ma'am. We'll
No.
invite them.
No,
Okay,
the
who
good
else?
Almighty will make sure. they-
One more question, and let's get a new person. Come on, somebody new, raise your hand, like this lady did. Ah, come on. Okay, you win.
This is not really a question. I just wanted to say, I've been up there for 4 times, flying up there to talk to you guys and Rounds' office and Carter, or the 2 senators and everything. And going up there has really opened my eyes. I've seen the interns that you guys have that really don't know anything, but they get yelled at a lot. I've seen your staff, how they work the issues behind the scenes, where if you're up here, you have no idea what's going on. And I've seen a lot of behind the scenes stuff on the sausage making of everything. And I think, when I went up there, your staff did an excellent job of showing us around, took us to the Capitol building and everything. And I think that everybody who, before they complain and everything, should really take a trip up to DC and really see how messed up the place is and how good the place is. Because when I went to Cornyn's office, I got handled all right, but then I look across the quad up there in their building with a big statue and everything, and you have an anti-Trump just trashed poster staring at him from the other side. And unless you go up there and see the interns, see the staff, see everybody going up there, you're not going to have a clue of what's actually possible unless you sit down with them. And it was just such going up there, it was such an education to me to actually meet with you up there briefly and all that. And like I said, if you're going to complain and you don't know what's going on, educate yourself, go up there, and that's what you're there for, partially.
Thank you very much. Let me say a couple of things about that. Interns don't get yelled at. They shouldn't be getting yelled at anyway. Sometimes my staff kind of plays like the Marine Corps, but interns are the most valuable thing we can get. We only get them for a semester. They're not there for any length of time. They don't get paid. I mean, they're getting credit, college credit, and they do a great job. And once they learn their job, they do a great job. And we've had some interns that have stepped into some major positions, and because they were we've got one right now that is already capable of dealing with pretty serious issues. So we get some real smart kids up there too. My staff is the best attachment in the United States. I'll put them up against anybody. They know where the bodies are buried, and they're able to get things done. And I'm proud of them, I'm real proud of them. A congressman is just one person, and if he didn't have a staff, he wouldn't be anybody. He's one of 435 people who get to vote, and we do the best. And what you have to do when you come to Congress is figure out how you can influence others. Because your vote is never gonna carry the day by itself. You gotta have 218 other people that wanna do what you wanna do. This is the way it works. In the Senate, it's different, but over where we are, the majority rules, period, and no exceptions. And so when you're the majority, so when people tell you elections have consequences, they're not lying to you. What party is up there in power is gonna determine how the country's gonna think for that period of time. That's the way it works. I have been blessed to allow you to go to Washington, me to go to Washington on your behalf and cast a vote on your behalf now for 18 years. And I appreciate it very much. I'm running for re-election this time, and I would appreciate your vote come next November, not this coming one, but the one after that. And thank you very much. Let me tell you, I recognize that I would not be sitting in this chair if it weren't for Bell County. So I pray for the health and happiness of Bell County every day, because you allowed me to go back to Congress, and I thank you for that. But we've got to call it a day.
Congressman Carter, thank you for coming today. I hope this was constructive. I think we got a lot of good questions. I think you know a little bit where us folks from Temple are coming from. So thank you for your time. I hope we get to do this again. As promised, we would be out of here by 1 o'clock. So thank you all for attending very much. I think everybody's sort of probably identified Congressman Carter's staff. So if you have any other questions or concerns, be sure and direct that toward the staff. And with that, it's 1 o'clock, and we will wrap this up. Thank you all very much for coming.
Oh, I'd love to buy her. Oh, that was interesting. I tried. Enjoyed yourself. I tried. You did a good job. You're the best. We like the music. Yes, we are. I live.
Where is his staff person? I'll tell you, we didn't expect, I mean, I carried my rifle just for self-defense out there, but when we came around that corner and we saw those 6 guys hiding in the shade, just waiting for the sun to go down, and then as soon as they saw us, they didn't just walk away, they ran. And they're all dressed in all black. I've got it on video, I got the whole thing on video. I do a morning show. It's the show locally that leads into Rush. Who do I give my card to? So if you ever need to come on the show, you're always. Oh, well, you. Now this is.
We actually met on election day last year.
Okay. Well, there's my card. It's the same phone number. I don't have my Logic Nation card on me, but
okay. Same phone number.
Anytime he wants to get something out, this is the Bell County. It's 1400.
Okay.
So we're the radio show,
Awesome.
and we're from 8 to 11. So we end, Rush begins.
Perfect.
And Judge is always welcome to come on the show. So
Thank you so
just
much.
give me a call and say, hey, can you come on and talk about this initiative or whatever? And it's always
Great,
open.
we love that. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, CJ.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you, CJ.
You too, Daryl.
That byline somewhere.
Yeah, well, I just had a letter to the editor up. So I try to keep try to keep as active as I possibly can. But
Because I think it was when the local carry issue came up, I started seeing your name on Facebook and places.
that's where I started to get known locally, at least. Before that, I was a military blogger, and I dealt with mostly military issues. And then I kind of got thrust into the gun thing, sort of no fault of my own, but. Well, I think I'm gonna go out and do kind of a roll-up video here, close out my video. Linda, I just cut my thumb, so I'm not gonna shake hands with the correct hand because I don't want to get.
What'd you do? Get caught in your?
I get when I'm around a lot of people, I get anxiety, and so I pick at my fingers, and it's just my anxiety when there's a lot of people around. But at least I can be around people now.
Are y'all still going to any of the Tea Party meetings?
I am. Yeah.
I haven't been on all.
And as a matter of fact, we just elected a new Tea Party president. So,
So who's that?
it's his name is Sean. Sean, he's a black guy, younger.
Have they gotten any new members?
I've seen different people. It's starting. I think we're going to start picking up a little bit more now. Unfortunately, no, we've been kind of stagnant.
I'm about to go. I'm about to go in front of the city council because Belton's city taxes are not closing for 65.
Oh, okay. Oh.
And I'm just not speaking for myself. I'm speaking for the rest of it.
She found out they taxed her for the county. Was it county or city?
No, it was city.
17%.
Yeah, they're not supposed to go over 10%.
Wow.
I have had two realtors come out and give me market value because I hadn't done
Almost a
anything
fifth of
and
your-
everything. And yeah, they jumped my taxes for proposed taxes this time a little over 32,000.
Oh my gosh.
Last year was like 20, about 21. A year before about 17. And they said that should have been, and she figured out it was about 17%.
Yeah. Wow.
But that's not right. But I mean, too, there's a lot of people that are over 65. They have to make a decision if they're going to eat, do their meds, or pay their bills.
Yeah.
And even if
People are losing their own homes that belong to them.
I'm trying to figure out homestead. According to what I'm looking at, my homestead's only about like $6,000.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
That's you in Florida where I lived in the county I lived in. The homestead in it was across the board, $25,000 across the board.
Wow.
And then when you got 65, your taxes drop drastically. And when you got 70, you barely had any.
Yeah. Yeah, y'all got to talk about it. Y'all got to get those people in line.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
Well, I'm gonna go close out my video here.
so.
All right.
I'm gonna go say hi to the.
Second Tuesday.
Can we let us get a copy of it?
It's online. It's on YouTube.
It'll be online.
It's streaming live.
Okay.
You have anything to say right now?
What do you look for online?
Just look for my name.
Okay.
Yeah, just do CJ Grisham. So the whole video is on my YouTube channel.
Oh, I didn't know you had a YouTube channel.
I'm just about everywhere.
You need to run for office.
Oh no, I did the whole running for office thing. I'm much better at holding politicians accountable than being a politician. That's for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, he has a tough job.
Yeah.
You just don't go up there and say, this is the, and get it done.
Yep.
It just don't work. And the majority that's holding the office,
Hey, I cut my thumb. I'd shake with the right hand. I just don't want to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
I appreciate your concern.
Well, I was wondering why
It's awesome seeing you.
always do Fort Hood and veterans and the justice system, but you don't do for farmers and little people like us. You
Well,
know?
I think I do. You just don't worry about me.
You just don't know it.
That's right.
Of course you don't do it. You'll never hear about it in the Temple television.
No,
well, you're not going to hear about it anywhere.
no. And
Judge, thanks again.
Yeah, yeah.
I cut my thumb where I'd shake with my other hand. I don't want to. I don't know what I did there, but
Oh, that hurts.
yeah. So I got to switch my shaking hand.
but you,
What I was gonna ask, for a second there, I thought, oh, SWAT, okay. I was like, man, there sure are a lot of SEALs on the police force. So I was looking, because I can only see it from way far behind. I'm like, I was gonna say, but those are wider though. And so I'm like, what is that? Okay, gotcha. Is that a new thing that y'all are doing? Because I haven't seen those until recently.
You got the pins. I mean, we used to just have it where we just say SWAT, and that's actually our SWAT seal.
Okay.
It's SWAT seal or crest. So we had these made a couple years ago.
Okay. Yeah, I just started noticing them, I guess, recently, and I've been meaning to ask, but was never able to get, never in a position where I could go talk to somebody. So, okay, cool. Yeah, the first time I saw it, I was like, it's seal, but no, the seal ones are wider. And, all right. Didn't know what that was. All right. Y'all take care. Be safe out there. Hey, Lacey, how are you?
I am well.
I'll shake with this hand. I cut my thumb, so I don't want to
Oh, yeah.
get blood on anybody.
Thumb over there.
Yeah. Y'all take care. Thank you. Sorry, I cut my thumb or I'd shake with the correct hand. How's it going? All right.
Thanks, CJ.
Yeah, take care, Tim. Thanks, sir. All right. I don't know. Not that y'all need me to do a roll. All right. Okay, so hey, just a quick recap because I'm gonna get going. I gotta take a leak anyway. So that was our Texas U.S. District 31 representative, John Carter, and obviously with a lot of people in there, you kind of have to pick and choose and hope that people talk about other things. I'm not like a regular reporter. I don't like to monopolize and constantly ask questions, and I like to give other people a chance to ask questions. So I did see a couple of questions in there about constitutional carry and about the so-called assault weapons ban and red flag laws. I can tell you, I know the answer to the so-called assault weapons ban, that Carter opposes that. I don't know how he feels about red flag laws, but what I'm going to do is I got the card of his policy person, and I am going to reach out and find out the answer to that question. But, you know, it's just important to be here and listen sometimes, to ask questions as you could. My biggest thing today is I am incredibly fed up with driving to the VA or driving to Fort Hood and wondering, okay, crap, did I remember to leave my guns behind, or even having to take them off to begin with? So when I leave Temple to go to Fort Hood, or even if I go to San Antonio and I want to go to Lackland or something, the fact that I have to remove my handgun before I even leave, because it can't even be in your car, even if it's unloaded, even if it's in a locked box, it doesn't matter. If there's a firearm in your vehicle on a military base, it's against the law. And the commanders are allowed to decide whether or not they're going to allow firearms, but the problem is most are not. And when you leave it up to a bunch of generals who are all about control and power to begin with few exceptions, they're all going to say no, and that's exactly what they've done. So what Congress needs to do is take the power out of their hands and tell them, look, if at the very least, if they have a license to carry, they should be allowed to carry that firearm on a military installation or on VA property, at least in their vehicles, by golly. I mean, let's incrementalize this thing. At least allow it in the vehicles, and then later, when we realize that's not a big problem, then we can go and work on where you can carry it on your person. So that was what I really wanted to come here for and figure out, and then just kind of broadcast it for all of you guys. And I really have to take a leak, so I'm going to close this out. Y'all take care, be safe, be free.